You guys, I have some news for you. Apparently, and I had no idea this was happening, but I just learned that Marvel has gone woke, and the movies are woke now, which means they're bad. Yeah, it really came to a head with this Fantastic Four rumor. I don't know if you guys have heard this, but there is a rumor that the Silver Surfer, well, okay, there's a couple rumors. One is that Galactus is going to be in the movie. This one seems more or less confirmed. Then we have the rumor that he will have a herald in this movie, which again makes sense because usually by the time the Fantastic Four are dealing with Galactus, that means some other planet has happened and, you know, that person became a herald. That way that guy shows up and then you fight that guy and then Galactus shows up. And then the rumor beyond that is that the Silver Surfer will be the herald that Galactus has, which again makes sense because the Silver Surfer is, I believe, or at least was at the time, the first herald of Galactus. And I keep using the word herald. When I say herald, I mean it is his job to show up at a planet Galactus is going to eat and say, hey everybody, in a couple of days Galactus is going to show up and eat the planet. So just don't even bother, you know, trying to do anything about that. You're going to get eaten by Galactus. And then he fights your superheroes and then Galactus shows up and eats a planet. I don't know why this guy exists. In a practical sense, what the Silver Surfer and all the other heralds' job is to scout out planets for Galactus to eat, like to find a planet that he will like. Usually because like Galactus goes to your home planet. Zenla was Nornrad, the Silver Surfer's home planet. Galactus showed up, started to eat it, or got ready to eat it, put on his little bib and his fork and knife, and Silver Surfer, Nornrad at the time, was like, hold on, Galactus, I'll make you a deal. I'm really good at finding planets. I'm so good at it. I'm going to find you all the planets you need to eat in the future, as long as you spare my planet. So this guy is like a talent scout for planets. I don't know why. Part of his job is also just to show up and like announce that Galactus is going to show up to eat your planet, because it doesn't make the planet tastier, and no amount of resistance would stop Galactus if he showed up that day versus earlier. Like, I guess the Silver Surfer's job is kind of like Omni-Man in Invincible, where his job is to show up and weaken the planet's defenses so it's easy for Galactus to get. But this is Galactus. Like, all the heroes teaming up can't stop him, usually. And especially the element of surprise seems like it would be Galactus's biggest weapon. Like, this guy just shows up and you have a day to deal with it. You can't build the machine you need to kill him. But if the Silver Surfer shows up a week early and starts talking about Galactus, it makes everything really different. Like, listen, I'm not telling Galactus how to do his job. It seems like he's doing a terrific job, except for all the times he's been killed or whatever. But Silver Surfer, first herald. Second herald, well, there were a couple of heralds. There's a lot of heralds. I don't know the order. I'm going to name you some heralds right now. Silver Surfer. Terrax. This guy is rock. It's very like Avatar, Last Airbender, because you have Airwalker, you have Fire Lord, Starbeam. Is it Stardust? It might be Stardust. Other heralds. I mean, Thor was a herald very recently. Like, I think Mr. Fantastic was almost a herald. Characters have been heralds. It's something that just happens. So the rumor is that the Silver Surfer will be in this Fantastic Four movie, which, like I said, makes sense because of the herald thing. But then the rumor, the part of it that makes it woke, is that the rumor is that the Silver Surfer will be played by a woman. And according to the like other rumor that kind of runs parallel to this rumor that doesn't fully confirm it, and they don't have to be related, but the rumor is that Anya Taylor-Joy will play the villain in the movie. So that probably means she would be the Silver Surfer in a movie where the Herald of Galactus is the one fighting the Fantastic Four, which is how that usually works. Now, first of all, I am beyond upset about this because she's a great magic, and I would have loved to just port that character right over to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Like, have Deadpool kick her into a portal, one of her own portals perhaps, and then she just pops up and hangs out with like Shang-Chi and Doctor Strange and all those guys. Now, to be fair, she could hypothetically still play both, because the Silver Surfer would probably largely be a VFX role where you would not be able to fully identify Anya Taylor-Joy. Now, to be fair, she is one of the more distinct faces in Hollywood right now, so I do think we would all still know, but you could get away with it if you needed to. Now, when people heard about this, some people got very upset because they learned for the first time the MCU is woke, and that is bad. MCU apparently is what they call it, and not as my podcast host DJ thought during one of our episodes that was somehow related to Shang-Chi, like the she was like Shang. So I don't know. I guess he thought the MCU was gonna be a lot of Shang-Chi stuff, which would have been nice. Honestly, that was the direction we could have gone. Now, I've also seen people online step in and say, well, okay, listen, I know you guys think this is what they're telling you, but what they're actually saying is Galactus will have a female herald that will be like his Silver Surfer, but it won't actually be the Silver Surfer. it will be the one most well-known herald that is a woman, which happens to be Frankie Ray, a character known as Nova. Now, first of all, I do think if you're going to report that, if you're going to report female Silver Surfer, you double check to make sure that's not already a thing. Like you would go, they'd say, oh, Galactus is going to have a herald and she'll be a woman. And then they go, ooh, female Silver Surfer, great. No, they ask like, wait, are you sure? Because the Silver Surfer is usually a man. And they say, oh yeah, I know, but they're changing it for this. And then they report that. Again, they could be wrong. And apparently this movie is way more in flux than you would expect on a script level. So like that could all also change. On the other hand, like this did kind of come out of nowhere, and I think it kind of makes sense for reasons that I will get into. But I want to talk about two things. Why I think female Silver Surfer is a good idea, and why I think Nova is a bad idea. And a lot of it comes to what is like essential about each character. What are the things you would want to put on screen in a movie like this? And then what you're gonna lose, like your opportunity costs of some of these things, right? So let's start with an easy one. Why is Nova a bad character? Because that name is already a different guy. That character will probably show up in the future. There's a character named Nova. We already have the Nova Corps. And Nova was always one of these names where it's like, there's another guy named that. And at the time, I think they just decided to name Nova Kid Nova. It was like a new, but like eventually it does seem like we're going to get either Rick Ryder or Sam Alexander or something in the MCU. It's one of those projects they keep threatening us with somewhere down the line, and it's never materialized. But like it makes sense. It's a pretty simple idea. They're like kind of like the Green Lantern Corps of the Marvel Universe. And to be fair, Rick Ryder is pretty cool. Like he's been doing some cool things. And if we really get into the Fantastic Four stuff and we do like an Annihilation story, that could be fun. So if we have that character and we want to introduce him later on, and he is part of the Nova Corps, and he takes on the name Nova, everybody's gonna go, wait a second, we already did Nova. And then they'll say, wait, no, that's actually the different character. This is a different guy named Nova. And I even think when she shows up, people will go, wait, you mean from Guardians of the Galaxy, the Space Cops? And it'll be, nope, they're unrelated. So starting off, one reason I hope that the Frankie Ray Nova rumors are not true, I want him to do Nova eventually. But if we use Nova here, we can't use it later. Now, another problem with Frankie Ray. Frankie Ray's powers are a little bit confusing in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as it exists, because she was the stepdaughter of a character named Phineas Horton, who was the scientist who invented the original Human Torch, which we very, very, very briefly see in Captain America at that World's Fair in the first Captain America movie. You can see a guy, and that's the Human Torch. This is just a me thing. The first couple times I saw that in a theater and on DVD, I thought they gave the little Human Torch a little Hitler mustache, and that is apparently a shadow being cast by his nose. But I was like, man, that's a weird choice, but I guess that's like a nod to something. I don't know. But anyway, so in the comics, the first Human Torch was actually an android who hung out with Captain America and Namor back in the Invader days and like fought in World War II. Then I forget why it got destroyed or something. And then Johnny Storm shows up. He gets fire powers. Now he's like, I'm the Human Torch. And everybody's like, yeah, it's fine, whatever. We just got right. You look pretty much exactly like the old one, and the old one was just a robot. So, you know, you seem cool. You could be the new one. Where was I going with this? Okay. So, in universe, that's what happened. Phineas Horton had a stepdaughter named Frankie. He changed his name to Phineas Ray or something like that. And she got doused in chemicals, because that's what you do, when she was like moving his stuff out of a warehouse or something. And those chemicals turned her into basically the Human Torch. This was because of like chemicals, Horton chemicals or whatever that he'd invented to make the Human Torch. He like had them in a bin and they spilled on her. Then he hypnotized her to make her think she wasn't a Human Torch firepower person, because he was like, this is bad. People are going to be really mad at me for what I did. He died. She got unhypnotized and then joined the Fantastic Four because she basically had Human Torch powers. So we're running into a couple of problems here. Number one, we've never done anything with Jim Hammond. We did see that android that one time, but it clearly didn't fight in World War II or anything like that. Like, it didn't seem like it made that much of a dent. There is no original Human Torch. Now, I could see a world where, like, that's the story. He tried to make this android. It didn't work, but he did make these chemicals. They spilled on Frankie. Frankie got superpowers or whatever. Like, that's fine. I think the bigger problem, though, is so she, without knowing that she is a superhero, meets Johnny Storm, and Johnny Storm is into her. She's into him. They date kind of on and off for a little bit. And then she gets like a vision of herself in her superhero suit. Well, her superhero suit can kind of materialize for some reason. And that happens, and she remembers, oh, actually, I'm also Human Torch. Isn't this terrific? Because you're Human Torch. So she joined the Fantastic Four for a while. She was like a reserve member. They didn't fully... It almost seemed like they knew she wasn't going to last, because I don't remember them being like, oh, we should change to Fantastic Five since you're here. They were like, yeah, we'll see. If you stick around for a while, maybe we'll get new things. But for now, we're just going to stick with the four. So here's my biggest problem with Frankie Ray, why I don't think she should be in this movie. She has Human Torch powers. We're going to do another mirror villain. I have a feeling the main character of this movie is going to be Sue Storm. That's what everybody has said. However, it is hard for Human Torch not to be the most interesting character in a movie like this just because he's the most fun. That's what they've done in the two other times they've tried to make these movies. It was Chris Evans and it was Michael B. Jordan. They were both these fun, charismatic, cool characters who they didn't fully pull focus because they did, I think the balance in at least that first one was pretty good. But especially because of their powers, they're the one that goes to fight the bad guy because they can fly and throw fireballs and stuff. And that's going to be kind of boring if the bad guy can also fly and throw fireballs and stuff. The other problem with Frankie is what she does in the comics. So Frankie, part of the Fantastic Four, doing her thing, Galactus shows up. They beat Galactus, but then Galactus gets better. And he's like, all right, now I'm going to eat her. So that's just what we're going to do. And Frankie goes, wait. I will be your herald and I'll find you a new planet to eat if you spare Earth. So she does the Silver Surfer thing, but for Earth. And then she leaves and then becomes this herald. And just kind of like a bad guy for a while because the power cosmic corrupts her. And also she was kind of a loose cannon. Eventually she dies because she has a lot of space adventures and stuff. I don't know if she's currently still alive, but if she showed up, you wouldn't be shocked because it's like, the power cosmic, you just reassemble your molecules or whatever. But the most interesting thing Frankie Ray did was save Earth from Galactus eating Earth, which means in a story where Frankie Ray is doing the thing Frankie Ray is known for, Galactus has to have come to Earth. If he doesn't do that, then who is she? Just some person with fire powers? Probably some alien? Maybe you do kind of what they could do where it's like, oh, she's from a different planet with humanoid people, like she's from Xandar, let's say, and she has fire powers and she makes the bargain with Galactus that spares her planet. But at that point, it's like, well, then we're not doing Frankie Ray. We're not doing Johnny Storm's girlfriend who got superpowers and then defected to Team Galactus. We're doing a different character. So basically, the name is bad, the powers are derivative, and her origin can't be done unless a lot of other things happen that I don't think they're going to have done. Like, I don't think when this movie starts, Galactus will have already been to Earth. I have a feeling that's going to be something that they're dreading. Oh, he's going to show up eventually. It's okay. Let's say we're doing female Silver Surfer, and let's say it's not like Norina Rad or something. We're not taking Norin Rad and just feminizing the name, whatever. I don't know if that's a word, but we're not doing that. We're having it be Juno, this other character. Here's her backstory that I just learned from her very, very short Wikipedia page. She's an Olympian. She's the granddaughter of Hercules. Their Galactus went to eat Olympia, I believe, where the gods live, and she made the deal with Galactus and then became his new herald, and she was just the Silver Surfer, Juno. Then she made it her mission to make sure Galactus didn't eat other sentient worlds. And I don't know how that went. I don't think it went incredibly well because Galactus is still going, and this is something I think that happened in the 2010s, and I haven't heard of her since. But that was a thing that happened. So that was the origin. So she basically did the regular Silver Surfer backstory. Like, there's a couple of these characters who have made the deal, and that's how they have become a herald. And then there's other people who are just like, I'm a psychopath, and I would love to eat up planets with you and kill everybody on them. That's more, and maybe some of the others. I honestly don't know. The why not of this is like, first of all, I don't think Norin Rad, the Silver Surfer as he exists in the comics, is particularly gendered one way or the other. He doesn't even have genitals, I don't think, because he has the big Ken doll body. Like, he doesn't put on a t-shirt and jeans after he's done Silver Surfing. Like, that's it. And I may be wrong, and I'm sure there's some really weird example of him in clothes and whatever, but I would assume the Silver Surfer being a man is not a humongous part of his identity. I've read some Silver Surfer comics. He's not a character who I have like the kind of knowledge of like the X-Men or other characters that I really, really like, but I think I get him. He's very chill. He has like a tragic backstory. He's doing this thing he's very sad about. He switches sides. He's a good guy. But like, it's not like he's, I don't know, Captain America and has to fight in World War II. And it's like, well, they only let guys do that. Or like, he's Ant-Man and he has to be a father. Like, it's him being a father is an important part of his identity. because of how that character's represented or anything like that. Like, he was a husband, but also he was a partner, and they became a little silver guy on a surfboard. He's been interested in Sue sometimes, but that's also something that a woman could do. I guess I don't think the opportunity cost of this is I don't think we're losing that much by making this character a woman. But hey, what's the benefit here? Well, one big benefit is we get a Fantastic Four villain that's a woman, which is, for some reason, impossible to find. I don't know why this is. Like, 'cause if you look at, there's like Ranker and all these websites where they'll make lists of all the best villains from X character, right? So like X-Men, for example. You look down the list, you maybe have to go 6 or 7 down max to find a woman, depending on whether Emma Frost or Phoenix or Mystique is on that list. But like, they're there. Then you keep going down, you'll find Destiny, you'll find Lady Deathstrike, Selene. There's plenty of X-Men villains that are women. I would say for like Batman, it's like a little bit sparse, but then you got Harley Quinn, you got Poison Ivy, Talia al Ghul. The Fantastic Four have never had my favorite rogues gallery in comics, but like, man, if you just line up all their villains and just read them down, you have to really search to find a woman. I don't know why this is. If you're counting Nova, she'll probably be the first one on your list, and that is not very far up. Like, because who the Fantastic Four villains are. It's Doctor Doom, it's Galactus, it's Mole Man, it's Terrax, it's the Silver Surfer, it's the Molecule Man, it's Psycho Man, it's the Mad Thinker, Dragon Man, Blastar. Like, I don't think this is intentional. And I don't even think it's a product of them being so old, because they are the first family in comics and like one of the first big teams. I don't even think it's that. I think it is just like someone didn't think to do it. I don't know. The closest you could get, if you really want to find one, Medusa was part of the Frightful Four, which is their villain supergroup, kind of. And that has a rotating roster. And obviously Medusa is an Inhuman. She's a good guy. This is kind of how she got introduced to this whole thing. Or at least like you would not expect to see Medusa as a Fantastic Four villain today. But back in the day, that made sense. And listen, as much as people might not like Silver Surfer being a woman, people really wouldn't like Galactus being a woman, or Doctor Doom, or Mole Man, or Annihilus or something. Maybe you can get away with the Annihilus. But like, Doctor Doom is Doctor Doom, and he, I would say, is a character that is inherently male, right? He is a ruler of a country. He has a lot of pride. And he is a rival to Reed Richards in this very, like, you and me are exactly the same, except you got lucky and I got scarred and all that stuff. Like, our backstory is so similar. I think Doctor Doom almost has to be a man. You could maybe do Doctor Doom as a woman, but to be fair, there do exist characters like that. Lucia von Bardas is one who is a Doctor Doom-ish kind of villain, but they don't hit quite as hard just because it's not as interesting. But they're not really more than 2 or 3 Fantastic Four villains that a comics fan could name that are women. But not for any good reason, I don't think. It just seems like it kind of happened that way. Then you may say, well, maybe you don't have a lot of women on the bad guy team, but there's plenty of good guys that are women. That's fair. There have been a couple of fill-in Fantastic Four characters, besides obviously Sue. You have She-Hulk, who joined the Fantastic Four for a while. You have Sharon Ventura, the She-Thing. You have Medusa, you have Crystal, the Inhumans that spend a lot of time with the Fantastic Four. But I don't think we're going to get any of those in a movie for a while, because we haven't even done the core 4. Okay, I don't think we're introducing She-Hulk, although that would make sense after Secret Wars, because that's how that happened in the comics. You've got the girlfriends. Frankie, originally a girlfriend. Alicia Masters, originally girlfriend, turned, wife. Crystal, girlfriend. But like, I don't think this works as a movie for everybody if every character in this movie is either a man or a girlfriend, because that's kind of what it is. You've Sue, who's Sue, and she's the main character, so that's great. And then the girlfriends. But if we want to balance this out a little bit so that the dynamics in the group and in the movie generally are more reflective of the gender of the people of Earth, and we don't want all the women in the movie to be girlfriends, we got to be a little creative, and we take this character who flies around space on a surfboard and is called Norrin Rad, a name that if you didn't know it and you met a woman and her name was Norrin, you'd be like, okay, we had Norrin Rad, an alien from a different planet who just shows up and talks like he's, a prophet, kind of like he's a god character and, you know, deals with problems about like universe and being and singularity and like those really high kind of Kirby cosmic kind of stories. I don't know. I just think that it's obvious that that's the character that you would turn into a woman. And it would be obvious that that would be Nova if A, the powers weren't the same as one of the main characters, B, the name wasn't the same as the character we're going to use in the future, and C, her origin wasn't explicitly something you cannot have done yet. So if you're changing everything about Frankie Ray, just don't do Frankie Ray either. It seems like what they want to do is a Silver Surfer, a character who is Galactus's first herald who made the deal and now has to find new planets and found Earth. And I think it is more of a disservice to the character of the Silver Surfer to replace that character completely with a different whole guy, like, you know, Terrax or something, than to have that character just be a woman. I think it's fine. I don't think anybody's gonna care. Also, it'll be really funny because Marvel is putting Fantastic Four out in like May or something of 2025. I mean, the dates always change and, you know, who knows which one they actually, once they start filming, then I'll kind of believe them. I think they're both set to start filming in January of 2024. But then a month after Fantastic Four comes out, Superman Legacy comes out, and Superman Legacy is going to feature, and we know this because they've been cast, the Engineer, a member of the Authority, who is a woman covered in silver metal who flies around and is kind of like a god. It doesn't have quite the same amount of powers like the Silver Surfer does, but she has like I've described this before. She doesn't look like Iron Man where she has like plated armor. She has liquid metal skin, looks like an alien. So Marvel is going to do a Silver Surfer story, and then DC is going to introduce the Engineer character that looks a lot like the Silver Surfer, but she's a woman, so it won't be a big deal, except the Silver Surfer in the Fantastic Four movie is a woman. Like, it'll just be a really funny coincidence that they ended up doing that. And I think that's, I don't know, I think that's kind of funny. Also, I think Anya Taylor-Joy is a good choice for a character like this. I think she's got a lot of range and she can do a lot of different characters. But if you look at the Northman and you look at her character there, she does play something kind of similar. She's a witch. She does prophecies. She's got this very ethereal energy to her. That's what you want from a Silver Surfer. And I'm sure there's actors that can play Silver Surfer. Like, I'd say Keanu would be a good surfer. I still believe that. But also, like, we had a really good, like, one of the only things that's good about the original Fantastic Four movies is their Silver Surfer was good. It looked good. The powers were, like, cool. The voice acting was good. Everything about it pretty much worked. Like, the Galactus was bad, but that's not the Silver Surfer's problem. But when you do a new universe like this, part of the challenge is how do you improve upon the old one, or how do you not step on their toes? I can understand them being like, well, we're not going to do better than that. So how can we change it? How can we put a new spin on this character? And I think that's a good way. So I don't know. Listen, if you're a humongous Fantastic Four fan and you love the Silver Surfer and you have a bunch of reasons why you think it should be the way that it usually is, then I can't argue with you. However, if you're just upset because they're changing the gender of this character, I don't really care. And I don't think it's going to matter to most people. Like, I think if you didn't know this character was a man usually, and it showed up, it was a woman, and someone went, no, it was a woman first in comics, and they changed it. You go, oh, okay. Then you'd be fine with it. So who cares? Also, if it's Juno, then we get to do Hercules stuff, and we can finally do something with Hercules, who should be a really cool, fun character we all like. And for some reason is not. It'd be really funny if this movie starts with Galactus just killing Russell Crowe right after Russell Crowe gives his little speech about like, Hercules, you go kill Thor, okay? And then just Galactus rips the top off of that building and just eats Russell Crowe. This is the fun stuff we get with Juno or Norina or Norrinrad, but a woman. It's all fine. All of it's fine. None of the arguments and stuff matter. But also, it does solve a couple of problems that come with Nova. And I don't know, it could be pretty cool. I like it.